Today's podcast episode is made possible by Nielsen. Sharpen your media planning with Nielsen's Upfronts Newfronts guide. Whether it's linear TV or streaming, Nielsen helps you optimize reach and impact. Hello, everyone, and thanks for hanging out with us for the Behind the Numbers weekly listen and e-marketer podcast made possible by Nielsen. This is the Friday show that is having a bad hair day. What's going on? Although has anyone ever said, I'm having a good hair day? That's never been said before, right? Has it?
Yeah, Jesse from Full House would say that.
Would he? She? He?
John Stamos. Yep.
He was always right.
Oh,
yep.
Man. I'm having a great hair day. That's not true. It's always this. What am I looking for?
It's the headphones.
My ceiling. Let's pretend it's the headphones.
Enemy of the hair.
In today's show, that's what I'm supposed to say. I got distracted by my horrendous hair. Is this the end of the web as we know it? GenAI's purpose? Is Peacock the right partner for Paramount+? Can Ikea save them all? And what are the most popular alcoholic drinks? Join me for this episode. We have three people. Let's meet them. We start with our director of reports editing, based in upstate New York. It's Rahul Chadha.
Sure, locals would argue that you describe this as central New York, but I'm of the mindset that it's immaterial to me. I don't care.
Victoria went to college there. V?
Central? It is central New York, technically.
Come on.
Upstate is like, you could see
Is
Canada.
Westchester.
Westchester.
Cut that out.
That's definitely a city resident thing to say.
I could see New York City from here.
Someone who is in that vicinity, he's one of our senior analysts covering everything digital advertising and media. It's Ross Benish.
Hello
there. And you got to go further south if you want to hang out with one of our other senior analysts on that very team. He's based in Philadelphia. It's Max Willens.
Yo.
There he is. When it wasn't a video podcast, I didn't worry about it.
This is the whole reason that I shaved today.
Is it?
Yeah.
You know, Marcus, you could just wear a wig.
I might have to start doing that. Rahul's wife's like, thanks. Anyway, what do we have in store for you? Is this the end of the web as we know it? We'll start there. We then move to make the case. We've got some good arguments to be made for three different stories for you. And then we move to dinner party data. That's how we end the show. We start, of course, with the story of the week. Now all I keep thinking about is what wig will I wear? Clown?
You don't have to choose one. You
have to enjoy
a rotation.
different one every day.
Wardrobe change every day. Oh, I thought it meant every segment.
Oh yeah, you could do that too.
You probably don't want to tune into next week's weekly listen. It's going to be a disaster. But for this one, we're going to be talking about, is this the end of the web as we know it? Christopher Mims of the Wall Street Journal writes that for decades, seeking knowledge online and seeing it has meant Googling it and clicking on the links. But seeking information using a search engine could be almost completely replaced by the new generation of large language model powered systems, says Ethan Mollick, associate professor at the Wharton School of UPenn. This could be good for consumers, but could also upend the delicate balance of publishers, tech giants, and advertisers on which the internet, as we know, it has long depended, writes Mr. Mims. He says he's been guiltily using a new free AI-supported search engine / web browser called Arc Search. Type in a search query. It identifies the best half dozen sites for information on that topic, then uses AI to summarize them. This is part of the reason why the New York Times is suing ChatGPT maker OpenAI. He thinks that once most people try it, they'll never be able to imagine going back to the old way of browsing the web. Mr. Mims says, quote, "It's not clear what lies on the other side of the current transition the web is going through. Much depends on how quickly people switch to AI-powered search, how much better future language models are, and which companies AI comes to dominate. There will be both winners and losers in this future as some publishers and services become obsolete and others become trusted and necessary sources of information," close quote. The question here, though, James, is what does this future of search look like? We're playing mini Shark Tank. just for this segment. So each person gets 1 minute to present their version of the future of search. The future can be, let's say, 2026, a couple of years out. I have 10 investment points to dish out. The more I think a person's version of the future is likely to come true, the more points they get. So let's play. Let's start with Ross. Minute on the clock. What's your pitch of the future of search?
So the founder of the world's biggest tech company loses a battle to secure a patent on the most powerful AI generator ever created. And this AI has the potential to dominate the world because we're living in a world dependent on computers. The AI source code, though, happens to fall into the hands of computer hackers. And hackers want to use the AI for blackmail and theft. But when they go to use the AI, they find out that they only stole a decoy. And the decoy can only generate models of rubber duckies favored by Jeep owners. The tech company still controls the real AI. They use it primarily to make search ads more profitable. And the search ads look a lot like the search ads we see right now.
Okay. I said future of... You've gone for movie script, I see.
Well, so...
I'd watch that on Hulu.
I would watch that on any platform.
The last time I was on this podcast, Bill Fisher brought up Lawnmower Man 2.
Yeah.
And
you're the only person on the planet Earth who's watched it.
Yeah, and so that was an homage to that.
Nice.
I half ripped off that and half went my own direction.
Okay. Lawnmower Man 3.
Called Lawnmower Man 3 Attack of the Search Ads.
All right. So in this world, you think that there's basically going to be a fight for the ownership of intellectual property rights, code behind the most powerful AI search, and that's going to rule the world.
Yep.
So there'll be one.
There'll only be one.
Okay.
Well, there'll be others, but effectively, there'll be just one big one.
Right. The way that there are other search engines, but Google has 90% of the share of search in the US and also worldwide. I believe that's similar web data. Okay. Rahul, minute on the clock.
I mean, I think the future of search will be fractured as Google's effective monopoly dies by 1,000 cuts. One of the big things I think a lot of attention gets paid to AI, but, Apple to me is the dark horse stalker for emerging as the biggest beneficiary of a ruling in the DOJ case against Google's search practices that it violates antitrust law. They've had a search engine in the skunk works for a long time, and they're going to have to make up for the estimated 10 to 18 billion Google used to funnel to them in traffic acquisition costs. I do think the ruling will open the door for some AI-powered search engines, but that requires adoption of a completely new service. And Apple's service is just going to be on everybody's home screen on their iPhone. Meanwhile, I think Reddit could take a cash infusion generated by its IPO to fix its internal search engine, siphoning off even more searches from Google. Heavy users of social media, along with younger folks, will increase their use of social searches on platforms like TikTok, and consumers will keep heading to Amazon to start or finish their paths to purchase.
Okay. So in this 2026 world, what do the shares kind of look like in terms of these? Is Apple all of a sudden half the market? Amazon's 40%, and then 10 for TikTok.
I think of half the operating systems in the U.S. at least. Yep. But you think on a global level, I think one of the biggest barriers to any competitor to Google is just adoption. Google spends I think something like $49 billion a year on traffic acquisition costs, those being fees it pays to people and entities and platforms to be the default search engine. The default search engine is just kind of something that we all sort of take for granted, but getting people to switch that behavior is a pretty heavy lift. And that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of skeptical of AI-powered search engines. I think that'll be a small portion of it. Much has been made of people appending the word Reddit to the end of their Google searches to get actually useful information. And again, Amazon, I think, is disrupting the search process for people or for shopping for actual things. Some competitors may emerge. Shopify, potentially, if they start aggregating all their stores into one platform, they've actually launched a website. That could be another way that Google's presence in the shopping process gets disrupted, I think. And again, just to plug some of our content, Minda Smiley, our social media analyst, is publishing a report about social searches. And, generationally, there is a distinct difference among younger users, Gen Z specifically, and how they're using social platforms to start their searches and the types of content they're looking for.
Ross, really quickly, in your world, this singular AI-powered search company is who?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
No, Amazon. It doesn't exist now.
Oh, Amazon.
2026.
Oh, okay. I see what you've done.
Yeah.
Good God. Okay. Max, we've not. Yeah. I thought OpenAI, I thought ChatGPT rules the world was going to be at least one of these. Max, is that the direction you've taken, or what's your pitch of the future of search by 2026?
I would say mine sort of falls somewhere in the middle. I think that search is essentially going to be turned into a feature or significant component of the operating systems that sort of dominate our lives. So something like Siri, whether it's branded as Siri or something else for Apple, will provide the dominant search experience on iPhones and Apple devices. Inside of the kind of diffuse ecosystem that Microsoft is building, Copilot is going to be the thing that shows everybody around and ferrets out information for them. And inside of Android and Google's various surfaces and YouTube especially, it's going to be Gemini and whatever they wind up branding that as, Gemini and Bard rather. And so, you think of essentially about the almost every major operating system we use has some sort of internal search capability already. And the reality is that now that we're at the dawn of this age of GenAI being able to sort of synthesize information and spit it back out at us, it sort of resets the consumer behavior and understanding of which of these services is better. And so we go back to the days of Lycos and Excite and Ask Jeeves and Google, and eventually one of them is going to win. But I think that if they all are able to sort of tap into the same kinds of resources, i.e., what's left of the open web, and other assets like it, what's going to sort of determine which one really wins is how quickly and nimbly you can tie all that stuff together with other information that they have. So imagine if you have an iPhone, you can ask it, what is the easiest place or the easiest way for me to get to this place by next Thursday, and it will be able to not only pull in the maps data and data from Expedia, it can also jump into your calendar and go, you can travel on this date, provided you avoid the podcast taping that you have on Wednesday afternoon. So,
Don't do that.
there are potentially lots of antitrust implications there, but I think that there will be lots of ways for these tech behemoths to sort of put their thumbs on the scale to ensure that people do opt for the native GenAI powered search product that they all have.
Just for the record, go to the recording. Don't skip it. Really. Okay. Cancel the doctor's appointment. So it sounds like multiple proprietary digital assistants. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, that's a much more succinct way of putting it. Basically, the digital assistant will become the search widget of the future.
Okay. These are good. These are good futures, gents.
I disagree.
Oh,
they're all plausible, but I am not excited.
Yeah, I don't want to live in the
them.
world that I described. No,
I wasn't really referring to yours, Ross. Sorry, I meant.
That's fair.
Amazon. 2 points max for you, Ross. 2 points. Rahul and Max, though, I give you 4 apiece. Interesting futures. Yeah, I don't want to live in any of them, but very interesting. But yeah, fascinating. Anyone else surprised that no one else said ChatGPT? OpenAI runs away with it.
If we're talking about who's going to control search in the future, more so than any of the AI companies, is it the future just going to be determined by how this Google court case shakes out?
I think in a lot of respects it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if a hammer comes down on them, that plunges a lot of this into a very different territory.
Referring to the DOJ suing Google in terms of its search practices violating U.S. antitrust law, which I know because of Evelyn's report about antitrust in big tech.
One thing I did want to mention before we move on is there's a note on the Stack Overflow, which is kind of a case study. The journal article pointing out that coding answer site Stack Overflow has seen traffic fall because of these AI agents. Its traffic fell 14% in April, the month after OpenAI launched GPT-4, which can write code developers would have otherwise looked up on sites like Stack Overflow. 6 months later, the company said it was laying off over a quarter of its staff. The company says traffic has been impacted by the surge of interest in GenAI tools, but those large language models have to get their data from somewhere, and that somewhere is places like Stack Overflow. So we could start to just see a domino effect of like companies reporting, this updated version of an AI something came out and trafficked to X site dropped even further.
And then maybe the next step is just the quality of content. And you see AI is a snake eating its own tail. It's just going to create. I mean, there's probably a phrase that describes this, but if AI is just feeding on its other AI generated content that could be, just prone to errors and or offensive or any other hundreds of reasons that might be problematic.
Right. Right now it's gathering.
What are we going to get as content?
There's a Verge article about the humans that work on training an AI, and the kicker at the end of the article was one of the AI trainers was using a VPN to say that he was in a different country because the wages that the AI company paid were much higher in one country versus the other. And he was using ChatGPT to do his work. So he was using one AI to train another. It was just, going in one system and out the other. No real human training happening.
Yeah. But yeah, right now, I mean, Rahul, to your point, the internet is made up of human-made content. But what happens when it's made up of, say, 30% AI-made content, and AI is pulling AI-made content, and then that share grows and grows because AI can create content even faster than humans.
Well, it looks like Sports Illustrated's website right now.
Oh, great magazine. Used to get the tear outs, the Sports Illustrated for kids, collect your cards. I'm so
Football
old.
phone.
Anyway, that's what we got. Say again?
Football phone. Does that date me? Do you guys not know what a phone?
Football phone?
Just subscribe to SI and you get a football phone.
Oh,
corded?
That's cool.
Oh yeah, this is corded. I'm really dating myself right now, so I'm so sorry.
No, I used to have one of those. That's what we got time for the story of the week. Let's move to the debate of the week. Today's segment, Make the Case. Where our panel, Rahul, Max and Ross, pretend to be lawyers and present the for and against arguments for each of the following questions. Based on 3 news stories, 2 contestants face off per question. Also, the following takes don't necessarily reflect the analyst's personal views, might do. Their job is to just present the best cases regardless and offer objective analysis. If you disagree strongly with something the opposing lawyer is saying, you can yell objection. I don't know what that will do. Never really understood why they yell it. They yell it a lot. Doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason. You would just say that all the time, wouldn't you? If I was a lawyer, every word that came out of the opposing lawyer's mouth, objection, Marcus, enough. I think
there's diminishing returns on if the judge will allow you got to choose your objections wisely, right?
That's true. I wonder how often the lawyers got arrested because of contempt in a court of law? Contempt, not content. That's something else. Let's play the game. So it's not a game. Let's have a debate. Max goes up against Rahul. I'm all over the place today. Just today. Question 1. GenAI's purpose. What is it? What should you actually be using generative artificial intelligence for? In a Washington Post article, Shira Overday wrote that if we use chatbots for the wrong things, like using a leaf blower to blow dry your hair, which apparently is what I did this morning, we risk feeling disappointed in the tech. So she laid out some examples of when and when not to use GenAI. Microsoft's Copilot in this instance. One was help figuring out what word to use. That's what it could be used for. 2, making cool images from your imagination. 3, summarizing long documents. 4, getting a head start on writing something difficult, dull, or unfamiliar. But what is the best use case for GenAI at the moment? Max, you're going to be going first, and your suggestion is prototyping content. You think that's the best use for GenAI? 1 minute on the clock. Make the case.
Yeah, so I think to a lot of what we've described about GenAI and its challenges stems from the fact that it hallucinates all the time, and people do not feel like it's trustworthy. But it is a great kind of, as you say, or as I say, prototyper of content. So if you think to yourself, wouldn't it be cool if I could make an image of Marcus ripping open the Chrysler building and eating the people inside like Raisinets? Would that be cool or not? You can instead of spending a bunch of time sketching something out and being unhappy with your illustrating ability, you just punch it in the mid-journey and see what it looks like. See if it would, in fact, be the right thing to put on a holiday card for Marcus, or if it wouldn't be. Basically, one of the great challenges, one of the great struggles we've all faced as creative people is the tyranny of the blank page. And GenAI takes the tyranny of the blank page and throws it in the garbage. So that's why it should be used for that principally, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good one. So they come up with their own for these. I didn't ask them to present arguments for these specifically. So prototyping content, I do like that. I was actually talking to a friend rather coincidentally yesterday about this. I've got this idea, I'm working on this project, and I'm thinking about this. But to try to create a prototype is going to take so long that if I reach a dead end, it's going to be a big waste of time. But I wonder if that is part of the mid journey. See what I've done?
Oh, nice.
All right.
I was almost as good as Amazon.
We'll cut that. Well, is it? It's a low bar, Ross. It's a low bar. Rahul, you're talking about entertainment. You think is GenAI's main purpose at the moment. Make the case.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Max and I are describing the same thing, because I find a mid-journey created image of you destroying the Empire State Building highly entertaining.
Why? Why is that? I think says a lot about my personality. Go on. Sorry.
The underlying problem with AI, I think, for practical purposes, is that it remains far from foolproof. Can create a host of headaches for people and the companies that try to use it. Tech.co keeps a running tally of a list of AI errors, mistakes, and failures that includes things like Microsoft's AI generating violent imagery on demand. And I think the key part of that phrase minimal, I think when Chat GPT launched, everybody else was like, we need to go to market. And they launched a bunch of minimum viable products, what people call minimum viable products. The contentious word, I think, being viable. And I think where it excels right now is just generating funny, random, or absurd content for no other purpose than the user's amusement. I stumbled across this stuff scrolling on Reddit. I mean, there are AI-generated videos of Will Smith just straight mealing on a bunch of spaghetti that I found highly entertaining. So I guess that's maybe because this is where I intersect with AI at this point.
It does seem like that's most content at the moment. Let's move to question 2. Good arguments, gents. Paramount Plus owner discussed pairing it with Comcast's Peacock, apparently, writes Jessica Tunkel and Amol Sharma of the Wall Street Journal. The potential partnership or joint venture could put all of Paramount Plus's and Peacock streaming content under one roof. At the end of last year, the Journal reported that Warner and Paramount CEOs had discussed a possible merger of the companies, not just streaming platforms. How is Paramount getting on right now? The article explains that it's not so great ad market and falling paid TV subscribers have forced the company to significantly cut costs so it can meet its investors' promise of delivering positive earnings growth this year. Question is Peacock the right partner for Paramount Plus? Max is going to argue that it is the right partner for Paramount Plus. Make the case.
So I will begin with a lawyerly disclaimer, which is to say that the odds of Paramount and Comcast, which have been fighting each other for advertising dollars for decades, is really quite remote. But in the abstract way, I do think that this is very potentially really nice pairing for both parties. So the secret weapon for both of their respective streaming services is their kind of libraries of old network TV shows and their sports offerings. Between the two of them, You could have very, very strong coverage of soccer, the definitive coverage of the Olympics, and probably about half of the NFL games, which is really nothing to sneeze at. They both have really tried to sort of get ink and build cultural cachet for their originals. And, Yellowstone did quite well, but those are effectively a sideshow, and they're not going to be the thing that really drive ARPU, which is the thing that both services need to sort of get to being more sustainable and more profitable. And so if they really want to drive as much revenue as possible while maximizing their cost cutting, they are a good potential match. The only real problem is what you would call the combined service.
Ross, Peacock isn't the right partner for Paramount+. Make the case.
So as far as those streaming services or the TV networks that are affiliated with them go, they're exposed to the same problems right now, namely that they're suffering from the decline of linear TV, and both of the streaming services that are used to prop up this decline have no path to profitability right now. As Max said, they tend to have similar strategies on the content they rely on and live sports they go after. So they could complement each other. But to me, that seems more like a weakness that the other partner isn't offering something wildly different than what they offer. If they're going to compete with the ESPN, Fox sports joint venture, they need something a little more substantial. And this partnership would not give them any regional sports network coverage, which I think is the biggest part missing from the ESPN Fox deal. And if they were able to partner with Amazon, they'd at least get some of that, because Amazon has the bankrupt Sinclair networks now.
So two things for me. I was wondering where a combined service would rank. According to Nielsen's gauge, Peacock accounted for 1.6% of all TV time in January. Paramount Plus was 0.9%. So combined, that's 2.5%. It's good enough for fifth place. As of all TV stuff, not just streaming, all TV watching, this combined service could be 2.5%. That's behind Hulu's 2.7%, but ahead of Disney Plus's 1.9% share of TV time. And secondly, investors may be getting impatient. Paramount Global's stock has fallen about 50% in the past year. Comcast is up 10 points by comparison. The Economist explaining linear TV makes up about 80% of Paramount's revenue. That's sinking as cable subscribers leave, and streaming is supposed to be its lifeboat. Paramount Plus has over 60 million subscribers, 60. And it's got some hits, Max said, Yellowstone, but it's lost over $1 billion in the first 9 months of last year. And seems years away from breaking even. For our final argument, we're talking about Ikea and whether they can save the mall. Is question 3. Trev Moss of The Journal was writing about this, saying that many malls are struggling, but Ikea is betting it can breathe new life into the troubled format. What's the formula? Anchor its malls with an Ikea store and then also offer co-working spaces, Nordic-themed food halls, and kids' play areas. But can IKEA save them all? Rahul, you're arguing that IKEA can save them all because its parent company, Inca Group, they operate some malls, and so they're going to anchor it with an IKEA store, and then they think they can reinvent them all. But IKEA can save them all, Rahul. Minute on the clock, make the case.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, the traditional department stores historically serving as anchors to malls are largely going the way of the dodo. I think IKEA is particularly well suited for driving foot traffic for a few reasons. People want to see furniture in person. Shipping costs for furniture can be prohibitive. And IKEA is kind of the OG of experiential retail, which is like a pretty kind of, I would say, static buzzword in the retail world. But people can drop their kids off at a play area, navigate an immersive showroom, buy a bunch of stuff, and then eat some Swedish meatballs and call it a day. I think the other thing to note, too, is that, the death of the mall, I think in the U.S. at least, could potentially be greatly exaggerated. Top-tier malls, being those in affluent areas, aren't suffering as much as you might expect. According to a June report, that's June 2023 report from CoreSite, foot traffic in these malls was actually up 12% between 2019 and 2022. So I think really what you're going to see now is like ways of reimagining the mall with properties like IKEA or workspaces. Not even just like the WeWork type spaces, but like offices, and just new ways of driving foot traffic to malls, basically.
On the foot traffic numbers, there was some from real estate data provider Green Street, and these are more negative than ones Rahul cited, but they're still not, apocalyptic. and if I had to guess, I would have said they were close to like 50% of their pre-pandemic levels, but it doesn't seem to be the case according to Green Street. So US malls down 4% on average in 2023 year on year, but still 12% lower than pre-pandemic 2019 levels. 12%, whether it's up or down, Rahul's numbers or my numbers, doesn't seem as bad as I would have thought. Ross, IKEA can't save them all, though, is your argument. Make the case.
Well, so foot traffic is still down in malls prior to what it was in the pandemic, and it had been declining for some time before that. There's been more of a focus on revitalizing downtowns, on making things more walkable. The way that malls sprung up around suburban malls, primarily in the 1980s, is not as fashionable as it used to be. And if anything is going to save the malls, this point I shared a little bit with Rahul, I don't think it's going to be like stores like IKEA. That there's a lot of experience-based activities in malls now that weren't there before. There's axe throwing, mini golf. There's like multiple amusement parks in the American Dream Mall. There's mystery bins. There's all sorts of interesting stuff that happens at malls that isn't like the traditional retail experience. And that part seems to be growing more than the stores part that IKEA belongs to.
I do wonder if, can you rebrand them all? Is that too big of a task? Because Inca Group, the operator of most of the world's IKEA stores, was calling malls meeting places. Can the mall go through a rebrand? Do we think that's possible?
I absolutely think that's possible. I think, there's this concept of mixed use development that's like closely associated with main streets and cities. And I think some version of that could exist in malls, but I think, they're kind of at their low point right now in this reimagining of what they're going to do, again, because their traditional anchor stores or department stores are going away. But, our local mall is like very sad. I'm not going to like mince words. It's pretty depressing to go visit because the tenancy rate is incredibly low. But the local healthcare provider is buying up a lot of the space to turn it into office space and spaces that provide healthcare services for people. A dentist opened up an office there. That's something you wouldn't historically think about being in the mall. But to me, that's mixed use development in just a different form. People are going to go to the mall because that's where they work. And then they're going to go out and shop and buy lunch and do all the things they would do on a main street. But it's just all encapsulated in the mall now.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to go to the dentist. You might as well do some other things whilst you're there. There's some interesting opportunities for partnerships, it seems. New co-working brand called Hey. It's a Hi in Swedish. Hey Workshop and Goodbye as well, I believe, which is very confusing, Sweden. Hey Workshop has its shared office space fully kitted out with IKEA furniture. And there are these co-working spaces in these malls and IKEA furniture in these spaces. So good promotion for IKEA. So maybe there's some overlapping partnerships with the tenants in these malls. IKEA the IKEA operator says the approach is working. Visitor numbers at the company's malls increasing. Traffic at Inca's mall in London, they say, doubled last year from a year before. All right, folks, that's what we've got time for the debate of the week. Let's move to the random trivia portion. It's, of course, dinner party data. It's the part of the show where we tell you about the most interesting thing we've learned in the last few minutes. Right, Rahul? Rahul's been Googling frantically. Or, in Ross's world, he's been, what did you call it? Amazoning?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't do that yet. I have to wait a few years before that service is available.
Rahul, what did you find?
Yeah, so in the last 10 minutes, I discovered that ski visits in the U.S. hit a high of 65.4 million over the 2022-23 season.
Wow.
That was up from about almost 5 million from 60.7 the previous season. That was a little bit shocking to me, honestly, just because you figure, to the state of global climate change, I would assume that there's not a lot of like snowfall or snowpack in these resorts anymore, but I guess people are still headed to the mountain. Vail is the largest ski resort operator in the U.S. They own 34 stateside resorts stateside and 41 globally. And what was interesting to me is, like many other things these days, Vail has leaned into subscription ski pass services, which accounted for 72% of visits in the most recent ski season.
Interesting. So no buying the past day of, subscribe,
Yeah.
get
I'm
access
not
to
sure.
multiple.
My source didn't exactly describe. So, I mean, there's a thing just described generally as a season pass. And I was like, is that what they're calling subscription? Because that's like a pretty old fashioned, I think.
But I thought you meant
model,
subscriptions to like other ones that they own.
Oh, I guess that's possible too. They didn't really go into detail, but I mean, the thing was the graph showed share over time, and the subscription aspect of it was definitely growing to steal share from, I guess, the day live passes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Can I offer some color?
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Talk to us, V.
Ski pass. You basically buy a ski pass and it gets you access to participating mountains.
Oh, class
My
pass
sister-
for skiing.
Basically, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I actually
Also-
worked at Vail when I was in college, when it was my snowboarding days. And yeah, the passes at any that you purchased in any one particular resort, I think were good for like the 3 or 4 resorts that were in the area.
Wait, V, you just said your sister and then nothing else.
Oh,
She
sorry.
okay?
My sister
Okay.
is a great skier. She
Jackie,
picked it
what's
up
going
like in a year, and she travels to ski. And they'll travel to mountains that are on the ski pass because it's vast. She's been to Canada, both coasts. She's been all over the continental U.S.
Oh my God. Jackie, do some work. Hi, Jackie.
Jackie,
very nice.
crunching those emails on the mountain. Don't worry.
Sure she is. Thanks, V. That makes a lot of sense. Very good, Rahul. Especially for a last minute scramble. Ross.
So depending on when people listen to this episode, it may be around the time of St. Patrick's Day. And I looked up how much food coloring basically gets thrown in the Chicago River during that time. So if you're not familiar, in Chicago, they turn the river green. People get very excited. And hopefully the fish don't die. I don't know how they do. But
Probably.
back in 1962, they used to throw 100 pounds of green dye into the river.
Perfect.
Then they dialed that back
Seems
25 pounds, but that wasn't green enough. So now they're at 40 pounds and they've been there for a while. So
Fair.
expect 40 pounds of dye to go into that river this St. Patty's Day.
Jesus. Must we?
I'm
Yeah, they
not
did all
responsible.
kinds of wackadoo stuff back then that we no longer do. I think I'd be fine with them retiring this as a tradition.
Shocking. Max, what you got?
Breaking news, Max is annoyed by something and wants it to stop. I became aware of the fact that Tyrese Halliburton, who is one of the NBA's young stars, is a leap year baby. So in a sport that is where its commentators are really obsessed with how young all its rising stars are, Tyrese is really quite young because he is 4. He is 4 years old. He will, not celebrate his 5th birthday for another couple of years. And it got me thinking about whether there are other leap year athletes. And so I found a pretty well-researched piece by a guy named Jerry Beach, who put it up on his Forbes contributor page. That's where I got basically all this information. So thank you to Jerry / Dan Jerry if you made all of this up. But just wanted to go through some stats about leap year pro athletes. So there have only been 3, or there had only been 3 NBA players who were leap babies prior to Tyrese Halliburton, and he's pretty clearly going to go down as the very best of them. The only real competition he has is a guy named Chucky Brown, who played for a really long time, but really was kind of just a dependable cog of a player for most of them. There have been 18 NFL players who are league babies. Probably the most notable is a guy named Bryce Paup, who was at one time the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And Jerry didn't figure out how many baseball players there
Jerry.
were, but the very, I guess you would say, very much most successful was a guy named Al Rosen, who won the American League MVP in 1953, led the American League in homers twice, and nearly won a Triple Crown. So, nothing to sneeze at, but just a nice little, starter pack of weird sports trivia for those of you that enjoy that stuff.
Very good. We had a leap colleague, Chris Benson. Shout out, was on the forecasting team.
I was thinking about him when Max started talking about this.
I believe he trialed for the Olympics. He was like one of the 200 best runners in the country. I think he went to California to try out for the Olympics. Because he ran track for Princeton. But he was, one of the fastest people in the country, it would seem. Or especially at distance. Okay, I got one for you real quick. The most alcoholic... I've put the most alcoholic drinks. That's not what I have. It's probably
that'd be very easy to figure out what's the most alcoholic.
Yeah, what are the most popular alcoholic drinks? We'll start with beers. Quick guesses, folks, before I give you the answers. Real quick, we'll go Ross, Max. This is in the from US people, but it could be alcohol from anywhere. It's going to go Ross, Max, and then Rahul. Quick guesses for beer.
Modelo.
That's third.
Budweiser.
Max didn't make it.
Wow.
Corona's number one, tied with Guinness, 53% each. Heineken 51. Sam Adams, Modelo, Stella Artois, joint third. It's not really third. Oh, no, it is third. Oh, well, Corona and Guinness are tied, so it's not really. Anyway, they're next, 48%. Most popular wines, Ross. Oh, sorry, that's from YouGov. YouGov 2023 was beers. YouGov 2019 is wines, Ross.
Franzia.
Oh, actually, you know what? I don't have these. I just have red, white, or rosé.
Okay. Rosé.
Most popular?
I don't drink wine. I don't know.
Me neither, but Ross. My God, what a country. 55%. I'll just give you these. Red, 69%. White, 65%. Rosé, 55%. Most popular red?
Cabernet.
Oh, Cabernet Sauvignon is 18% a second. Merlot, 19%, only just. Pinot Noir in third. Popular white, Moscato. I said that wrong. Chardonnay, and then Riesling. And then rosé, it was Zinfandel rosé. Is that how you say that?
Zinfandel.
Zinfandel is how you say that. Thank you. Me and Ross have no idea. And then most popular cocktails, according to the 2024 Bacardi Cocktail Trends Report.
That's probably something that has Bacardi in it. If
rum, a daiquiri, I guess.
Number 3 is Margarita and Bloody Mary, tied 20%. Mojito, 27%. But the crown jewel of the cocktail world apparently is gin and tonic, 28%. Yeah.
Surprising finding for Bacardi.
Yeah. Favorite drinks, gents? Any? Ross, rosé.
Favorite drinks. I don't really drink a whole lot of wine. Yeah, I like orange high C, especially if it comes from McDonald's.
Oh,
way different from McDonald's than if you buy the cartridge from a grocery store. I think there's more syrup. There's more magic. You go to McDonald's and you get the cup.
Mm-hmm.
Way better than a box you'll get from the store.
Wawa icy drink.
Wawa period drinks.
Yeah,
Wawa.
anything.
Just Wawa.
Just Wawa. Yeah.
Just Wawa.
Just Wawa is the answer to everything. That's what we've got time for this episode. Thank you so much to my guests. Thank you to Max.
Always a pleasure, Marcus. Thank you.
You to Ross.
Thanks, Marcus.
And to Rahul.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeed. Thank you to Victoria, who edits the show, James, Stuart, and Sophie, and also Lance, the podcast crew. Thanks to everyone for listening in. We hope to see you on Monday for the Behind the Numbers Daily, an e-marketer podcast made possible by Nielsen. Happy weekends.